Hi everyone! In this video, we will be talking about strengthening your chapter, presented by Alyssa Coulter, Caitlin Liu, and Chelsea King.
The first section for strengthening your chapter will be on how to obtain funding for your local chapter. There are numerous resources you can utilize in order to find funding. Firstly, most dental schools have campus student governments and school-registered campus organization funding that allocates a certain amount of funding to each organization each year. This requires that your local chapter is registered. Reach out to your school's campus student government to learn about the specific requirements to receive school RCO funding. Secondly, we are very lucky to have a relationship with the American College of Dentists. Local chapters are often very happy to help. In addition to the mentorships that the ACD dentist can provide, some local chapters of the ACD can also help with funding SPIA events, especially if holding a joint event with the ACD. Schools often provide separate funding for conferences. Speak with your school administration to see if there are applications for grants specific to conferences, including travel, lodging, and registration fees. Lastly, the most exciting way to get funding for your chapter is fundraising. When it comes to fundraising, there are many goods and services you can consider selling. There are countless items that can be sold during a fundraiser, including clothing apparel, scrub caps, clinic boxes for clinic items, patient safety glasses, and so much more. Consider what is trending at your school. For example, due to COVID, there have been recent increased PPE requirements and students were scrambling to purchase scrub caps. You can also consider selling services. Offer professional headshots for students, especially during the residency application season in the summer. You can also team up with a local company for percentage night. Some local shops are willing to share a percentage during a given night to fundraise with a local organization. Many companies partake in fundraisers like these, such as Chipotle, Krispy Kreme, Panera, Panda Express, or Jamba Juice. Due to COVID, the most appropriate and efficacious place to sell fundraising goods and services is via social media. Include a flyer and link for online orders and offer a day and time for pickup or drop off. If in-person events resume later this year, consider fundraising at reunions, alumni events, white coat ceremonies, conferences, etc. Just make sure to obtain approval before selling items or asking for donations at that event. You can fundraise at any time, but it is often helpful to coordinate the goods and services with a particular event or time of year. For example, consider selling care packages or holiday gifts right before exams and finals. Many students love to purchase goodies for their friends during stressful times. During lunch hour, consider selling baked goods or other goodies. Just make sure your school will allow this for health and safety reasons. At the start of the school year, many students are excited and eager for the upcoming year. Take advantage of this and consider holding a fundraiser right at the beginning of the year. If a campus event is taking place, take advantage of this and fundraise at the campus event. Many people can be involved in the fundraiser. Apparel can be repped by almost anyone, such as SPIA members, other dental students, faculty, and even family members who want to show off their children. Do not forget to include ACD members and alumni who are often happy to participate. Use social media like your local chapter's Instagram and Facebook page to advertise the fundraiser. Offer incentives to students who share the flyers, such as raffling off Starbucks gift cards. To reach a broader audience, consider advertising through an email listserv. Lastly, the old-fashioned word of mouth and wearing the items that are being sold are a great and easy way to advertise the fundraiser.
Hi everyone! My name is Caitlin Liu, and I am the SPIA Regent for Canada. I am also a fourth-year dental student at Western University in London, Ontario. Today I'll be talking a bit about branding and marketing and how you can use them to help strengthen your SPIA chapter. The first thing I want to talk about is creating your brand. And what I mean by that is figuring out what SPIA will look like at your school. Part of that is knowing what kinds of initiatives would work best at your school and what your students respond to. This could include talks and seminars, panel discussions, symposia, debates, volunteering and outreach, online discussions, articles, podcasts, and more. The types of events and initiatives you choose to host will depend on your school. Maybe you find that there are too many speaker presentations, So you try online discussions and podcasts instead. Or maybe students really like panel discussions at your school. Another thing to consider is whether you prefer to hold events virtually or in person. The other part of creating your brand is figuring out what kind of things you'll cover with your events and initiatives. Whatever you decide, keep it interesting and make it relevant. You could talk about things like ethical dilemmas, controversial issues, academic support, professional and career development, or anything else that might be related to ethics and professionalism. The topics you choose to cover may change and evolve with time, and you may find that certain topics lend themselves to certain event formats. Within your school, ideally, you want to try to find a niche where you're aiming for your chapter to host unique events and cover topics that students can't get from other organizations at your school. Now, the question is, how do you find that niche and figure out what your school wants? Well, that brings us to our next topic, do your research. The first thing you can do is ask around and hear from students. Find out what topics they'd like to learn about or events they'd like to see. You can reach out to your classmates, friends, student leaders, or even ask the whole student body for feedback. Another good avenue would be to talk with faculty, dentists, and other community members. They may be able to inspire you to explore a certain area, or they may be able to provide suggestions. They may also be able to connect you with people they know who could be good speakers for an event you're thinking of, or they might be able to direct you to resources that might be helpful for your chapter. You can also look at other SPIA chapters and see what's worked for them. What kinds of events or initiatives have they held? What topics have they covered? A great way to learn about other SPIA chapters is by looking at their social media and online posts, which can also give you an idea about how to promote your chapter. I'd also encourage you to reach out to other chapters directly or your regent. We're all pretty supportive, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to share some advice and answer questions. Once you've got a better idea about what your brand will be as a SPIA chapter, you want to make sure you're catering to your audience. You want to make sure you get their attention from the very start of dental school. This means getting the word out to first years early on and showing them what SPIA is about. One way to do this is by hosting an event that's specifically targeted at first or second years, such as one that might help them with their transition to starting dental school or learning basic clinical skills. You can also get first years involved by recruiting them as part of your executive team. And ideally, you have a wide variety of each of the years represented on your team. While you want to grab their attention early on, you'll also want to try to appeal to dental students of all years with your initiatives. This means hosting events and initiatives that everyone would find interesting. That might mean that some events might be more relevant to those who are closer to graduation, while others might be more helpful for those earlier on in dental school. Related to creating a brand, you can also create flagship events and initiatives. When you hold an event every year and advertise it as an annual event, it eventually becomes synonymous with your SPIA chapter, which is a good thing. At the same time, you don't want to be doing the same thing every year. So ideally, on top of annual events, you'll want to get creative and branch out into a variety of topics, while still keeping things within the SPIA realm and doing things related to ethics and professionalism. So now that you know what SPIA will look like at your school and what kinds of events and initiatives you host, you need to get the word out about it. Ideally, you'll want to designate someone on your team to be in charge of promotion and advertising. Depending on your individual roles, this could be VP communications, communication reps, your class reps, or all of the above. On top of that, the whole team can pitch in to help tell others about your event, for example, through social media. You want to establish a presence at your school, and a great way to do that is through social media. You can create a Facebook page for your chapter, an Instagram account, use Twitter. Again, whatever would work best at your school. Another thing that some schools do is write up newsletters about their chapter events and activities. You can use social media or other avenues to summarize key points from speaker presentations, share articles about interesting topics in dentistry, advertise your events, and whatever else you see fit. This can also be a great way to reach an even larger audience, particularly students who may not have been able to attend your events or participate in real time. When it comes to advertising, you want to use as many avenues as you can that would be effective for you. This could mean social media, emails, posters, school newsletters. Again, whatever would work best for your school. Another piece of advice is to possibly have a graphic designer on your team. And by that, I don't necessarily mean a professional, but having someone in your team who has some basic graphic design skills can go a long way with helping your advertising look more polished. Finally, the last topic I'd like to talk about is audience engagement. So, how do you get people to attend your events and participate in your initiatives? If you have the funding, one thing you can do is provide incentives for those who attend your events. For example, you can offer pizza at in-person events or hold a draw for gift cards for coffee. You can get people to follow you on social media, liking your Facebook page or following your Instagram account, liking or sharing your posts, commenting in discussions. You'll want to stay active and post regularly, say at least once a month if you can. You can also encourage participation by getting your audience involved and making things interactive. On your social media, you can have online discussions and forums. For your events, you can let students submit questions for the speakers in advance and possibly provide those questions to the speaker so they can cater the presentations to what students want to hear about. At your events, you can host question and answer sessions and allow your audience to ask their questions and interact with the speaker directly. Finally, I'd encourage you to include as many people as you can. Some chapters have membership lists where students have to sign up to be included and invited to events. However, if possible, opening up your events to everyone at your school to attend can be a great way to reach others who might not otherwise participate and to get them interested in the long run. You can also invite faculty members from your school to attend, which might also help you later on with getting the word out about SPIA, getting support, and making connections for future initiatives. It can also be great to invite your local leaders and advisors from the American College of Dentists. If it's not possible to have more people attend your events and open them up to everyone, find ways that everyone can participate in your initiatives in some way or another. For example, you can host online events or share info discussed at your events through newsletters. In the end, you want to try and reach as many people as you can so that they can all benefit from the work that you do. All right, so hopefully you found some helpful information in there to help strengthen your chapter. Thanks very much for your time and all the best to you and your team.
Hi, I'm Chelsea King and I'm one of the vice chairs and I'm a fourth year student at the Dental College of Georgia. Today I'll be talking about chapter development strategies. So one of the first main strategy for membership development is that you should target D1s and D2s. When you plan your event, make sure the event happens on a day when they're not busy. So make sure that there's no practicals or exams on the day of the event. Try to host a welcome event and make it either mandatory through the school or provide food so that they have an incentive to show up. When you're trying to build membership, try to do frequent events such as monthly events and make sure that people sign up for membership when they come to your events. When you're planning events, come up with a main event for each semester. That way people can remember the organization for that event. And for our school, for example, we used to host a fall event, which is Cases That Haunt Us, and a spring event, which was Cases That Warm Our Hearts. The fall event was during the time of Halloween, and a spring event was during the time of Valentine's Day. So every year we would change up just a little bit, such as by having a different speaker. We used to give out food and snacks so that people want to come, and we would invite popular guest speakers or professors, such as dean of the school. For events, we had one membership development event every year, and we had a service or volunteering event such as a tutoring session for waxing or operative. And these events are especially beneficial so that D3s and D4s can get volunteer hours, and these events will target D1s and D2s for their preclinical courses. And we used to have monthly or yearly speaker session or panel events. And we also had ethical dilemma discussion events and board exam preparation events. And another strategy is that you should have a large executive board, which consists of 10 or more people. Having a large executive board is awesome because they can advertise more to their classmates and their friends. You can build a stronger executive board, and it's really important to have more D1 and D2 executive members who can stay for a long time. They will stay and continue growing the board. And it's also important to have at least one or two executive members from each class. And these members can be manpower for many events. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation. Hope this helped. Thank you.